The average American family throws away roughly $1,500 a year on groceries they didn't need, didn't finish, or never should have bought in the first place. That's not a guess. That's documented waste backed by USDA data. But here's what nobody talks about. The families who actually keep their grocery bills low month after month aren't using coupons. They aren't chasing sales. They aren't spending 3 hours on Sunday circling deals in a flyer. They're doing something far simpler. They're buying the same 20 items over and over again, building every single meal around a core list of budget staples that cost less, last longer, and deliver more nutrition per dollar than 90% of what's sitting on grocery store shelves right now. And I'm not talking about eating sad, boring, flavorless meals. I'm talking about feeding a family of 4 for as little as $300 to $400 a month while eating better than most households spending double that. The trick isn't spending more. It's knowing exactly where your money actually goes the furthest. What I'm about to share are the 20 grocery items that give you the absolute most bang for your buck. These are the foods that smart families are quietly building their entire monthly shopping lists around, while everyone else wanders aimlessly through the aisles, tossing in whatever catches their eye. By the end of this video, you'll have a complete blueprint for slashing your grocery bill without sacrificing a single meal. But let's be honest, most people will hear this, agree with every word, and then change nothing. So here's the real question. Are you going to keep bleeding money at the checkout line, or are you finally going to take control of your grocery budget? Let's get into it. Number 1. Rice. And I'm starting here because this is the foundation of budget eating around the entire world, and it's not even close. A 20-pound bag of white rice costs between $8 and $12 at most grocery stores. Let that sink in for a second. That single bag contains roughly 200 servings. Do the math. That's about 5 cents per serving. 5 cents. Meanwhile, people are spending $6 on a tiny container of pre-cut fruit that lasts 2 days. Rice lasts for months when stored properly. And in airtight containers, we're talking years, decades even. There's a reason nearly half the world's population relies on rice as a daily staple. It's not because they haven't discovered fancier food. It's because rice works. It's cheap, it's filling, it absorbs whatever flavor you throw at it, and it pairs with practically everything. Stir-fries, soups, bowls, burritos, casseroles, fried rice with leftovers from the night before. The versatility is almost unfair. And here's the part most people overlook. A cup of cooked white rice gives you around 200 calories of clean, easy-to-digest energy. When you're trying to stretch a budget, calories per dollar is the metric that matters most, and rice absolutely dominates that category. If rice isn't already the backbone of your monthly grocery list, you're overspending. Number 2. Dried beans. And this one honestly frustrates me because of how criminally underrated they are. A 1-pound bag of dried pinto beans costs about $1.50. That single bag, once cooked, expands into roughly 6 to 7 cups of food. That's enough protein and fiber to cover multiple meals for an entire family. Meanwhile, a single can of beans costs around $1.20 and gives you maybe a cup and a half. You're paying nearly the same price for a fraction of the food. Let me put it another way. Dried beans cost roughly 10 to 15 cents per serving. Canned beans run closer to 60 to 80 cents per serving. That's a markup of 400% or more just because someone else soaked and cooked them for you. And here's what really gets my blood boiling. Grocery stores place canned beans right at eye level because they know most shoppers won't bother looking down at the dried section. It's the same trick they pull with pre-cut produce. Make the expensive version easy to grab and hide the smarter option where nobody looks. Black beans, kidney beans, lentils, chickpeas, it doesn't matter which variety you choose. Dried legumes are packed with protein, loaded with fiber, and cost almost nothing. Soak them overnight, cook a big batch on Sunday, and you've got meal-ready protein for the entire week. No excuses. Number 3. Eggs. And this might be the single greatest nutritional bargain in the entire grocery store. A dozen eggs typically cost between $2.50 and $4 depending on where you live. That's roughly 25 to 35 cents per egg. Each one delivers 6 grams of complete protein, healthy fats, B vitamins, choline, and nearly every essential nutrient your body needs to function. Let me say that again. For about 30 cents, you're getting a near-perfect food. Scrambled for breakfast, hard-boiled for snacks, fried on top of rice and beans for dinner, mixed into fried rice, turned into an omelet, loaded with whatever vegetables you have on hand. Eggs do everything. And here's the detail that most budget shoppers miss entirely. Eggs are one of the few foods where the protein quality rivals expensive cuts of meat at a fraction of the cost. A pound of chicken breast might cost $4.99. A dozen eggs gives you roughly the same total protein for half the price, or less. Nutrition researchers consistently rank eggs among the most cost-effective protein sources on the planet, and yet, people walk right past them to grab $8 protein bars that contain more sugar than actual protein. If you're trying to eat well on a tight budget, eggs should be landing in your cart every single trip. No negotiation. Number 4. Oats. And I'll be completely straightforward with you. If you're buying name-brand cereal, you are lighting money on fire every single month. A box of brand-name cereal costs around $5 to $7 and lasts maybe a week. Meanwhile, a large canister of old-fashioned oats costs about $3 to $4 and lasts 3 to 4 weeks for a single person. That's not a small difference. That's potentially $40 to $50 in savings every single month just by switching one breakfast item. And the nutritional comparison isn't even fair. Most box cereals are essentially sugar delivery systems with a vitamin label slapped on the side. Oats give you slow-burning complex carbohydrates, soluble fiber that actually helps lower cholesterol, and a sustained energy release that keeps you full for hours instead of crashing by 10 a month. Here's what families who watch their budgets already know. Oatmeal is the ultimate blank canvas. Add a spoonful of peanut butter and a sliced banana, and you've got a meal that costs about 50 cents and genuinely keeps you satisfied until lunch. Top it with honey and cinnamon, mix in frozen berries, throw in some nuts if you have them. Every variation costs pennies and tastes completely different. Oats also work beyond breakfast. You can blend them into smoothies, bake them into granola bars, use them as a binder in meatloaf or veggie burgers. The versatility per dollar is absurd. Stop paying $6 for a box of sugary flakes. Start buying oats. Number 5. Bananas. And this one is going to sound almost too simple, but hear me out because the numbers speak for themselves. Bananas typically cost between 19 and 29 cents per pound, making them consistently the cheapest fruit in the entire produce section. Not sometimes, not during sales, virtually always. A single banana delivers potassium, vitamin B6, natural energy, and around 100 calories for roughly a dime. A dime. Compare that to the $6.99 container of pre-cut fruit we talked about earlier, and ask yourself what you're really paying for. And here's what smart budget shoppers do that most people don't even consider. When bananas start getting too ripe, don't throw them away. Freeze them. Frozen bananas blend into smoothies perfectly, can be mashed into banana bread with almost no additional ingredients, or honestly, they're a surprisingly decent frozen treat all on their own. That means zero waste, which is the real secret to a low grocery bill. Every piece of food you throw away is money in the trash. Bananas are practically designed for budget eating. They come in their own packaging, they require zero preparation, they travel well, kids love them, and they're available in every grocery store in America year-round. There's no reason this shouldn't be on your list every single month. Number 6. Frozen vegetables. And this is where things take a sharp turn, because this single swap can save the average family hundreds of dollars every year. Let me paint a picture for you. Last week, I walked into a grocery store and checked the price of fresh broccoli. $2.99 per pound. Right next to it, a 1-pound bag of frozen broccoli florets, $1.29. Same vegetable, same nutrition. In some cases, actually better nutrition. And I'm not exaggerating that last part. Here's the detail the produce industry really doesn't want you thinking about. Frozen vegetables are harvested at peak ripeness and flash frozen within hours. That process locks in vitamins and minerals at their highest levels. Fresh vegetables, on the other hand, are picked early, shipped across the country over several days, and sit under fluorescent lights, losing nutrients by the hour. By the time that fresh broccoli lands in your cart, it may have already lost 30 to 50% of its vitamin C content. The frozen version sitting in the next aisle over is actually more nutritious, and it costs less, and it lasts for months instead of days. Mixed vegetable bags, frozen spinach, frozen stir-fry blends, frozen peas, and corn. Stock your freezer with these and you've got instant side dishes, stir-fry bases, and soup ingredients ready to go at a moment's notice. The family spending the least on groceries every month all share one habit. Their freezers are full. Their trash cans are empty. That's not a coincidence. Number 7. Chicken thighs. And this is where I have to call out one of the biggest budget mistakes I see families make over and over again. Everyone gravitates toward chicken breast. It's marketed as the lean, healthy, premium choice. And the price reflects that, usually $4.99 to $6.99 per pound. Meanwhile, chicken thighs are sitting right next to them at $1.99 to $2.99 per pound, sometimes even less when they're on sale. Here's what most people don't realize. Chicken
Thighs have more flavor, stay juicier during cooking, and are significantly more forgiving if you overcook them slightly. Chicken breast dries out the moment you look at it wrong. Thighs can handle the oven, the slow cooker, the grill, or a skillet without turning into cardboard. And the nutritional difference? Minimal. We're talking about maybe 3 extra grams of fat per serving. That's it. That's the entire trade-off for saving 40 to 60% per pound. Over the course of a year, a family that switches from breast to thighs for their regular chicken meals can easily save $300 to $500. That's real money. And here's the move that really levels things up. Buy a family pack of chicken thighs, portion them out yourself, freeze individual servings in zip-top bags, and you've got weeks of protein ready to go for a fraction of what most people spend. The pre-marinated, pre-portioned, individually wrapped chicken breast packages the store sells at $7.99 a pound? That's a convenience.
Tax for people who haven't done this math. You're smarter than that. Number 8. Canned tomatoes. And honestly, this is one of the most underappreciated staples in the entire grocery store. A 28-ounce can of crushed tomatoes costs about $1.50 to $2. That single can is the base for pasta sauce, chili, soup, stew, shakshuka, curry, and a dozen other meals. Meanwhile, a jar of pre-made pasta sauce costs $3.50 to $5 and often contains more sugar than you'd put in a dessert. Let me break that down for a second. A jar of ragu or prego contains between 6 and 12 grams of added sugar per serving. Per serving. There are usually about 5 servings in a jar, which means some of those sauces contain the equivalent of 10 teaspoons of sugar. In what's supposed to be a savory dinner item, you're paying more for worse ingredients. That should make anyone angry. Here's the smarter play. Grab a can of crushed tomatoes, add garlic powder, dried oregano, a pinch of salt, and a drizzle of olive oil. Simmer for 15 minutes. You just made a better pasta sauce than anything in a jar for roughly 40% of the price and without the hidden sugar bomb. Canned tomatoes are shelf-stable for years. They're incredibly versatile, and they form the backbone of cuisines from Italian to Mexican to Indian to Middle Eastern. If you're not buying canned tomatoes every month, you're leaving serious savings on the table. Number 9. Peanut butter. And this might genuinely be the most powerful budget food in existence. A standard 16-ounce jar of peanut butter costs around $2.50 to $3.50. Inside that jar, you're looking at roughly 25 servings, each one packed with nearly 8 grams of protein, healthy fats, and close to 200 calories. That works out to about 12 to 15 cents per serving of dense, filling nutrition. Let that number settle for a second. 15 cents. For a food that requires zero cooking, no refrigeration, no preparation, and tastes great to practically everyone, including kids who refuse to eat anything else on the planet. Spread it on toast for breakfast. Pair it with banana slices for a snack. Stir it into oatmeal. Toss it into a stir-fry sauce with soy sauce and garlic. Use it as a dip for apple slices or celery. In a pinch, eat it straight from the jar, because honestly, we've all been there, and there's no shame in it. Here's the part that really seals the deal. Peanut butter doesn't just fill you up. The combination of protein and fat keeps you satisfied for hours. People who eat peanut butter regularly tend to snack less, which means fewer impulse purchases and fewer wasted calories. Your wallet benefits twice, once when you buy it, and again when it keeps you from reaching for that $4 bag of chips 2 hours later. Number 10. Potatoes. And I cannot stress this enough. Potatoes are one of the most slept-on budget foods in America, and it's baffling to me. A 5-pound bag of russet potatoes typically costs between $3 and $5. That's enough to serve as the foundation of 7 to 10 separate meals for a family. Do the math, and you're looking at roughly 40 to 60 cents per meal for a filling, versatile, nutrient-dense food. And yes, I said nutrient-dense, because here's a fact most people genuinely don't know. A single medium potato contains more potassium than a banana, a solid dose of vitamin C, vitamin B6, fiber when you eat the skin, and enough complex carbohydrates to fuel you for hours. Potatoes got an unfair reputation as unhealthy junk food, and that's completely backwards. The potato isn't the problem. It's the deep frying, the sour cream, the processed cheese sauce, and the fast food industry that turned a perfectly good vegetable into a delivery system for grease and sodium. Baked potatoes topped with canned chili, roasted potato wedges with garlic and olive oil, mashed potatoes with a little butter and salt, potato soup made with broth, onion, and a can of cream of mushroom, hash browns for breakfast.
Every single one of those meals costs almost nothing and leaves the table full. Potatoes also store for weeks in a cool, dark place, which means less waste and fewer emergency grocery runs. Start buying the big bags. You won't regret it. Number 11, onions. And if potatoes are the backbone of budget cooking, onions are the secret weapon. A 3-pound bag of yellow onions costs about $2 to $3, and that bag will flavor more meals than most people can count. Here's something professional chefs have known forever that home cooks tend to overlook. Almost every savory dish in every cuisine on earth starts with an onion. Soups, stews, stir-fries, pasta sauces, curries, chili, rice dishes, casseroles, the list goes on and on. When you saute an onion slowly in a little oil, you're creating a flavor base that makes even the simplest ingredients taste like they belong in a restaurant. And just like potatoes, onions store beautifully. Keep them in a cool, dry, well-ventilated spot, and they'll last for weeks, sometimes over a month. That means you buy one bag and it carries you through dozens of meals without a single trip back to the store. The families spending the least on food every month aren't buying fancy seasoning blends or expensive sauce jars. They're buying onions, garlic, and basic spices and building rich, complex flavor from scratch for pennies. Number 12, garlic. And I'm putting this right after onions because these two together form the most cost-effective flavor combination in existence. A whole head of garlic costs between 30 and 50 cents. One head. And it contains 10 to 12 individual cloves, each one capable of transforming an otherwise bland meal into something you'd actually look forward to eating. Here's the part that really makes me shake my head. People are spending $3.50 on a tiny jar of minced garlic and oil, when a fresh bulb costs a fraction of that, lasts longer in the fridge, and delivers dramatically more flavor. That jarred stuff is watered down, often preserved with citric acid, and honestly doesn't even taste like real garlic anymore. Fresh garlic, minced or crushed, releases compounds that are not only more flavorful, but also carry genuine health benefits. Garlic has been studied extensively for its immune-supporting and anti-inflammatory properties, and it costs almost nothing. Pasta sauce without garlic is just tomato water. Stir-fry without garlic is just vegetables in a pan. Rice and beans without garlic is survival food. Add garlic and suddenly everything tastes intentional. Budget eating doesn't have to mean bland eating. Not when garlic exists. Number 13, cabbage. And this is where I need to make a serious case for what might be the most underrated vegetable in the entire store. A whole head of cabbage typically costs between $1 and $2 and weighs 3 to 5 pounds. Let me repeat that. 3 to 5 pounds of fresh, crunchy, nutrient-packed vegetable for about $1. Nothing else in the produce section even comes close to that value. And the versatility is insane. Shred it raw into coleslaw. Sauté it with a little garlic and soy sauce for an Asian-inspired side dish. Throw it into soups and stews, where it stretches every pot by at least 2 extra servings. Roast thick wedges in the oven with olive oil and salt until the edges caramelize. Stuff the leaves with a rice and meat mixture. Ferment it into sauerkraut that lasts for months. Every single one of those options costs virtually nothing. And here's the storage advantage that really separates cabbage from other fresh produce. A head of cabbage lasts 2 to 3 weeks in the refrigerator without any special treatment. No special bags, no containers, no tricks. Just toss it in the crisper drawer and it holds up beautifully while your $5 spring mix turns to slimy mush in 4 days.
Cabbage is the vegetable that budget-conscious families around the world have relied on for centuries. There's a reason for that. It's cheap, it lasts, and it does everything. Number 14. Carrots. And these are another produce powerhouse that most people walk right past without appreciating the value sitting right there. A 2-pound bag of whole carrots costs about $1.50 to $2. That same amount of baby carrots, which are literally just regular carrots cut into smaller pieces and tumbled smooth, costs $3 to $4. You're paying double for someone to make the same carrot shorter and rounder. That's it. That's the entire value proposition. Buy the whole carrots. Wash them, peel them if you want, chop them yourself in about 3 minutes, and put the savings back in your pocket. Carrots work raw as snacks, cooked in stir-fries and soups, roasted with honey or just olive oil and salt, shredded into salads, and mashed alongside potatoes for a naturally sweeter side dish. They're loaded with beta-carotene, fiber, and vitamin A. And like cabbage, they last for weeks in the refrigerator. When you're building a budget grocery list, produce that lasts a long time is everything. Every time you throw away wilted greens or mushy berries, you're throwing away money. Carrots don't do that to you. They sit patiently in the fridge, waiting to be useful for weeks. Number 15. Pasta. And this one almost feels too obvious, but I'm including it because the cost per meal is genuinely hard to beat. A 1-pound box of spaghetti or penne costs about $1 to $1.50. That single box feeds a family of 4 as the base of a complete dinner, when paired with canned tomatoes, some garlic, and a drizzle of olive oil. We're talking about a full meal for 4 people for under $4. Under $4. That's less than the price of a single fancy coffee. And the shelf life is essentially indefinite. Dried pasta stored in a cool, dry place lasts for years. There's no rush to use it, no spoilage clock ticking, and no wasted food ending up in the trash. It just sits there, ready whenever you need it. Now, here's where I need to address something. People love to demonize pasta as some kind of nutritional villain. And sure, if you're eating an entire pound by yourself covered in Alfredo sauce from a jar, that's a problem. But a reasonable portion of pasta paired with vegetables, a protein, and a homemade tomato sauce is a perfectly balanced, affordable, satisfying meal. The trick isn't avoiding pasta, it's using it as a base rather than the entire meal. Build on top of it. Toss in frozen broccoli, some canned tuna, garlic, olive oil, and red pepper flakes, and you've got a restaurant-quality dinner for about $3 total. That's the power of pasta when used correctly. Number 16. Canned tuna. And this is one of the cheapest sources of high-quality protein you will find anywhere. A single can of chunk-light tuna costs about $1 to $1.50 and delivers roughly 20 to 25 grams of protein. That's comparable to a chicken breast that costs 2 to 3 times as much. And it's already cooked, already seasoned, already shelf-stable for years. No thawing, no marinating, no cooking time. Pop the can, drain it, and it's ready. Mix it with a little mayo and put it on bread for a classic sandwich. Toss it over a salad. Stir it into pasta with olive oil and lemon juice. Mix it into rice bowls with soy sauce and a fried egg on top. For the amount of protein you're getting per dollar spent, canned tuna is almost impossible to beat. And here's the budget tip that adds up fast. If you replace just 2 meat-based dinners per month with canned tuna meals, you could easily save $20 to $30 per month. That's $240 to $360 per year from one small substitution. The families with the lowest grocery bills aren't making dramatic sacrifices. They're making small, smart swaps exactly like this one, consistently, month after month. Number 17. Bread. And specifically, I'm talking about basic, store-brand whole wheat or white bread. Not the artisan sourdough loaf for $7. Not the organic sprouted grain bread for $6.50. The simple, practical, everyday bread that costs $1.50 to $2.50 per loaf. A single loaf gives you roughly 20 slices, which means each slice costs about 10 cents. 10 cents. That slice of bread can become a peanut butter sandwich, a base for eggs in the morning, a side for soup, a vehicle for canned tuna, or the foundation of a budget-friendly French toast that costs less than 50 cents per serving. And here's the part that connects directly to slashing waste. If you can't get through a loaf before it starts going stale, freeze half of it immediately. Frozen bread slices toast up perfectly and last for months. Zero waste, Zero extra trips to the store, zero excuses. The families who keep their grocery bills low don't buy specialty bread every week. They buy the basics, freeze what they don't need right away, and stretch every loaf to its absolute limit. Number 18, cooking oil, and specifically, a large bottle of
Vegetable oil or canola oil that costs between $3 and $5 and lasts an entire month or longer. Without cooking oil, half the meals on this list become significantly harder to prepare. You need it to saute onions and garlic. You need it to roast vegetables. You need it to fry eggs. You need it to keep chicken thighs from sticking to the pan. A little oil goes a long way, and a single 48-ounce bottle provides hundreds of servings. Now, if you can stretch the budget slightly, olive oil is worth considering for dishes where flavor matters, like homemade pasta sauce or roasted vegetables. A decent bottle costs around $5 to $8 and lasts weeks. But for general everyday cooking, a basic vegetable or canola oil does the job at a fraction of the price. The key takeaway is simple. One bottle of cooking oil is the ingredient that makes nearly every other item on this list actually usable. Without it, budget eating gets boring fast. With it, you unlock stir-fries, roasted vegetables, pan-seared, Proteins, homemade dressings, and dozens of meals that taste far more expensive than they actually are.
Number 19, spices. And I know this sounds broad, but stay with me because this is where budget meals either succeed or completely fall apart. You do not need 30 different spice jars. You need 5. Salt, black pepper, garlic powder, cumin, and paprika. That's it. Those 5 seasonings, combined with fresh garlic and onions you're already buying, can flavor every cuisine from Mexican to Italian to Indian to American comfort food. And here's the detail that saves you the most money. Stop buying name-brand spices at regular grocery stores. Just stop. A tiny bottle of McCormick garlic powder costs around $4 to $5. The exact same product at an ethnic grocery store, Indian, Middle Eastern, or Asian market, costs about 75 cents to $1.50 for double the amount. That's not a small savings. That's an 80% reduction for the exact same ingredient. The spices at ethnic markets are
Also typically fresher because their inventory turns over faster. You're getting better quality at a dramatically lower price. And those 5 core spices I mentioned will last you months. We're talking about a one-time investment of $5 to $8 that transforms every meal on this entire list, from bland survival food into something you actually want to eat. Without spices, rice is just rice. With cumin and paprika, it's Spanish rice. Without spices, chicken thighs are boring. With garlic powder, salt, and pepper, they're a weeknight dinner anyone would be happy with. Spices are the multiplier that makes budget eating sustainable long-term. And that brings us to number 20, frozen fruit. And honestly, this one really gets under my skin, because the markup on fresh fruit in America is outrageous, and frozen fruit solves the problem completely. A bag of frozen mixed berries costs about $3 to $4 for a pound. Fresh berries at the same store cost $4 to $6 for a tiny 6-ounce clamshell Container. That's roughly 3 to 4 times more per ounce for fruit that will turn to mush in your refrigerator within 3 to 4 days.
Meanwhile, that bag of frozen berries lasts for months and was flash frozen at peak ripeness, which means the nutrient content is often higher than what's sitting in the fresh produce section. Toss frozen berries into your morning oatmeal. Blend them with a banana and some powdered milk for a smoothie that costs about 75 cents. Use them as a topping for pancakes. Let them thaw and stir them into yogurt. And here's the honest truth about frozen fruit that the produce industry would rather you not think about. Those perfect-looking fresh strawberries on display were likely picked before they were ripe, shipped across the country for days, and have been sitting under grocery store lights losing vitamins ever since. The frozen ones were picked ripe and locked in at their nutritional peak within hours. You're paying less for fruit that's
Actually better.
That should change how you shop permanently. So let's bring this all together. 20 items. That's it. Rice, dried beans, eggs, oats, bananas, frozen vegetables, chicken thighs, canned tomatoes, peanut butter, potatoes, onions, garlic, cabbage, carrots, pasta, canned tuna, bread, cooking oil, spices, and frozen fruit. Build your monthly grocery list around these staples, and you will spend less money, waste less food, eat more nutritious meals, And finally, stop wandering through the grocery store, tossing random items into a cart like most families do every single week. The grocery industry doesn't want you shopping this way. Pre-cut produce, name-brand spices, single-serve snacks, pre-marinated meats, fancy coffee drinks, all of that exists because it's designed to pull extra money out of your pocket. Every overpriced convenience item on those shelves is a bet that you won't do the math. Prove them wrong. The difference between families who struggle with
Grocery bills and families who don't isn't income, it's strategy. And now you have one. If this changed how you think about your grocery list, do me a quick favor. Hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications. We're here to protect your wallet and help your family eat smarter. No fluff, just the truth nobody else is saying. See you in the next one.